Greetings, all! Today, we will be examining the members of the legendary hero duo that are part of the Legends of Galar, namely the Fairy type in its Hero of Many Battles form, and Fairy Steel type in its Crown Sword form, Pokémon Zacian, and the Fighting type in its Hero of Many Battles form, and Fighting Steel type in its Crown Shield form, Pokémon Zamazenta, the two collectively known as the Warrior Pokémon. Majestic and beautiful in their own ways in terms of how they handle themselves in the heat of battle, the members of the legendary hero duo are potent forces of nature that can more than devastate anything and anyone that dares to step up to them against the whole of the Galar region.
Zacian, in its Hero of Many Battles form, resembles a very large wolf in form, with beige fur covering its legs, with 3 thick bladed black claws on each of its feet, the rest of its body having a bright blue coloration with various scars across its body and pink fan-shaped tail. It further has sprigs of pink hair along its face and shoulders, a line of bead-like fur extensions like a rope on the side of its body, a beige snout with a pink nose, a damaged left ear, and black eyes with glowing yellow sclera. In its crowned sword form, however, the rope-like tassels of fur along its body grow into a set of flowing ribbon-like fur extensions, its shoulders and back gain a pair of wing-like yellowish armored body pieces, their head becomes adorned with a yellowish metallic crown, and they come to carry a large yellowish-colored pink emblazoned sword within their jaws as a weapon. Zamazenta, in its Hero of Many Battles form, resembles a very large wolf as well, with beige fur covering its legs and 3 thick bladed black claws on each of its feet, the rest of its body having a bright red coloration with various scars across its body and blue fluffy tail. It also features some extensions of blue fur along its front legs and ankles, a large top knot of blue fur on the top back of its head, a layered blue hairband along the length of its neck, and a blue bit of fur on its forehead, as well as a beige snout with blue nose and black eyes with glowing yellow sclera. In its crowned shield form, however, its shoulders and sides become adorned with yellowish-colored armor plates with wavy red accents, and the front of its form becomes armored and emblazoned with 3 similarly styled sets of plate armor like a mane across its front, forming a crown of sorts that fits together to form a powerful shield that the beast can use for both offense and defense.
The legend of Zacian and Zamazenta is one so old that many in the Galar region have forgotten about it entirely, though the few that do recall it are the only ones who even know that these beasts actually exist.
20,000 years ago, the legendary monster Eternatus crash-landed on Earth inside of a meteorite and fell into a dormant state. 3,000 years ago, however, it woke from its slumber, and in desperate need of energy to restore its decaying form, the creature rose to the skies of Galar and began to feed on the life energy of everything in sight, darkening the sky with black clouds and beginning what is historically called the Darkest Day. From there, it began radiating energy from its body in the form of Galar particles and, by association, Dynamax energy. This caused Pokemon across the land to be Dynamaxed and Gigantamaxed, but because they could not control the energy flowing through them, they went berserk and began to destroy the land. Zacian and Zamazenta rose to fight the beast as heroes of Galar alongside the reigning king of Galar at the time, the legendary Pokemon Calyrex, and together they managed to defeat the beast and force it into a deep slumber, its power scattering across the land and infusing the Galar region with Dynamax energy through the Galar particles emitted from its frame. After putting down Eternatus, Zacian and Zamazenta went to relax and rest their wounds at the hot spring in Sir Chester before they returned to the slumbering Weald, where they rested their battered bodies and entered a stasis, becoming statues in the woods and eventually fading into the annals of history until their existence was rediscovered in modern times. Said by some to be the older sister of Zamazenta or rivaled by others, Zacian is a swift-footed wolf whose fairy-type powers seem to be dominantly a result of its feminine form and personality, acting with swift, precise movements as it lies in wait in the shadows of the forests and plains it travels across. Zacian and Zamazenta are very similar to each other, with similar base stats and moves, with one of the few distinctions that can be made involving Zacian's acquisition of the Sacred Sword, Quick Guard, and Sword Stance moves compared to the Metal Burst, Wide Guard, and Iron Defense moves learned by Zamazenta. Zacian is able to attack so gracefully in battle that it can actually captivate the attention of its opponents, something that has often been compared to a graceful dance. What really makes it a threat, however, is the fact that it has the capacity to absorb metal particles in the air, which is the air in the Galar is rich in, and use them to craft a powerful set of armored weapon with them. Though known as the hero of many battles in its default state, when paired with the rusted sword it once wielded in ancient times, this wolf can transform and enter its crowned sword form, resulting in a slight increase in its base speed stat and a critical increase in its base attack stat, and acquiring a partial steel type assignment. In this form, Zacian wields a mystical blade that, if not wrapped up for safekeeping in its mane, is held in its teeth at the hilt, where it can be used to strike and attack with vicious cutting blows. The blade is so strongly infused with the creature's various force power that its sharp edge has the ability to cut through the scales of dragons like they were paper, striking so fast that a blink of the eye is enough to miss it, and those struck by it will not feel the full force of the blow until after they fall down. This also goes for its signature power, as it is here that its fighting spirit shows fully, not just in its signature Intrepid Sword ability, which raises its attack stat the moment it enters into battle, but also its signature Behemoth Blade attack, which it can only wield in this form instead of the Iron Head attack it normally has access to. This attack is a powerful cutting strike that can decimate opponents, but it is especially effective against Dynamax Pokémon, dispersing the energy, fueling them, and dealing double damage to Pokémon in a Dynamax or Gigantamax state. With the power to seemingly slice the ocean in half, there is almost nothing that this wolf cannot cut down with a single strike, and its title as the Fairy King's Sword is more than warranted from its performance on the battlefield. This is further shown in its base stats, as in the case of Crown Sword Zacian, the beast only shows weakness in its base special attack stat, its base defense stat being above average for a fully evolved Fairy type Pokemon, and the rest of its base stats being above average for a fully evolved Fairy and Steel type Pokemon, possessing the highest base attack stat out of all Fairy type Pokemon, and the highest base speed stat and base stat total out of all Fairy and Steel type Pokemon, the lattermost tied with Crown Shield Zamazenta, while in its Crown Sword form, rendering this beast a terrifying force for even Dynamax Pokemon to face. Said by some to be the younger brother of Zacian, or rival by others, Zamazenta is a sturdy-footed wolf whose fine type powers seem to be dominantly the result of its masculine form and personality, acting with overwhelmingly regal, majestic movements as it lies in wait in the shadows of the forest and plains that it travels across. Zamazenta and Zacian, as noted, are still very similar to each other, with similar base stats and moves, with one of the few distinctions that can be made involving Zamazenta's acquisition of the Metal Burst, Wide Guard, and Iron Defense moves compared to the Sacred Sword, Quick Guard, and Sword Stance moves learned by Zacian. No matter what attacks come its way or how bad the battlefield may be, Zamazenta will never flinch in its resolve, charging at enemies head-on with its full might without ever backing down. What really makes it a threat, however, is the fact that it has the capacity to absorb metal particles in the air, which the air in Galar is rich in, and use them to craft a powerful set of armor with them, much like its sister. Though known as the hero of many battles in its default state, when paired with the rusted shield it once wielded in ancient times, this wolf can transform and enter its crowned shield form, resulting in a slight decrease in its base speed stat, but a considerable increase in its base defense and special defense stats, and the acquisition of a partial steel type assignment. In this form, Zamazenta wields a mystical shield that is attached to the head and neck like a crest. The shield is used for both protection and a weapon by the beast, and by bashing enemies with its full might, Zamazenta can cause cracks in the land to appear, and the resulting shockwave can lay waste to hundreds of enemies. This also goes for its signature power, as it is here that its fighting spirit shows fully, not just in its signature Dauntless Shield ability, which raises its defense stat the moment it enters into battle, but also in its signature Behemoth Bash attack, which can only wield in this form instead of the Iron Head attack it normally has access to. This attack is a powerful smashing blow that can decimate opponents and go right through towering mountains, but it is especially effective against Dynamax Pokémon, dispersing the energy, fueling them, and dealing double damage to Pokémon in a Dynamax or Gigantamax state. With the power to take even the blows from Dynamax Pokémon with little consequence, there's almost nothing that this wolf cannot defend itself against, and its title as the Fighting Master's Shield is more than warranted from its performance on the battlefield. This is further shown in its base stats, as in the case of Crown Shield Zamazenta. The beast only shows partial weakness in its base special attack stat for a fully evolved fighting and steel type Pokemon, possessing the highest base defense, special defense and speed stats and base stat total out of all fighting type Pokemon, and the highest base stat total out of all steel type Pokemon, tied with Crown Sword Zacian while in its Crown Shield form, rendering the beast a terrifying force for even Dynamax Pokemon to face. While Zacian and Zamazenta were able to slumber peacefully for thousands of years without being disturbed, and was eventually almost completely forgotten, they were forced back into the spotlight due to the events of the Eternal Crisis. The former chairman of Macroc Cosmos, Chairman Rose, was a man that believed that the Dynamax energy in the Galar region was the best source of free power available to the world, and under his direction and engineering, many parts of the region flourished from it. However, Rose's top workers showed him that this power would not last forever. In fact, it's likely that in 1,000 years, the region would run out of Dynamax energy, placing the entire region in an energy crisis. Wishing to divert this crisis now, despite it being something that would happen in the far future, Rose risked the lives of the people in the region by trying to gather wishing stars from across the region, pieces of the broken Eternatus, and return them to the source in order to restore the creature to its full power. Eventually, he was able to do this, restoring the broken creature to a level of full functionality, but after doing so, he found that he could not control the monster, and it went berserk, summoning forth the dark clouds from millennia past and initiating the beginning of the darkest day once again. The former champion of the Galar region, Leon, attempted to weaken and capture Eternatus to stop its rampage, but failed, forcing a fellow trainer friend to tackle the beast and defeat it in battle. However, in a desperate move to keep itself safe, the cornered Eternatus absorbed all the Galar particles and Dynamax energy in the entire region, allowing it to set the Darkest Day completely in motion and transform into an overcharged mutant state, Eternamax Eternatus. Its overwhelming power became too great for any Pokemon to attack it, and it seemed like all was lost. But thankfully, the young trainer and the younger brother of the former champion Hop had acquired the Rusted Sword and Rusted Shield items from the Slumbering Weald previously. Their presence near Eternatus triggered the awakening of the legendary heroes of the Galar region, Zacian and Zamazenta, and with the items, they were able to enter into their Crown Sword and Crown Shield forms. Together, the two heroes of Galar, alongside Hop and his friend, were able to fight back and defeat Eternatus for good, allowing the young friend to finally capture and contain Eternatus once and for all. After the end of the crisis, Chairman Rose was removed as the head of Macrocosmos for his actions, leaving Leon to take over, while the legendary beasts were almost allowed to return to the wild. But not until the remaining members of the original Galar royal family, Swordward and Shieldbird, attempted to force the creatures to show their true animal natures by bombarding them with Galar particles to show who the real rulers of the region should be, only to be rebuffed by Hop and the friend from before and defeated, and the legendary heroes calmed. Afterwards, the two legendaries entrusted themselves to these two trainers, so the legends of the Galar region would live on, with heroes and heroes bonded together.
These truly majestic beasts are the stuffs of legend for a reason, and the sheer might with which they wield their power more than shows that you should never mess with these royal knights if you ever come up against them. Zacian, the agile and offensively dominating elder sister of the two, is a terrifying force to be reckoned with, and will never hold back even if she might be a girl in the eyes of many. With a crowned sword form, she can cut through the most daunting of enemies with ease, her blade always staying sharp and energized, and giving her the sort of offensive might that many other Pokemon can only dream of. On the other hand, Zamazenta, the more regal and defensively domineering younger brother, is equally as terrifying to have to face, as it will never back down from any fight and will keep on fighting until it nearly draws its last breath. With his crown shield form, he can smash and crush all that stand in his way and will never turn tail in combat, forcing its targets head-on and never letting up with defenses and might that others can only dream of. Together, these siblings can and will take on any that threaten the safety of the Galar region, and there is very little that could ever hope to fill them in battle without one hell of a fight.
No matter what forces may rise up against the people of the Galar region, there is little doubt that in their times of great need, when no one else can rise to the challenge, the members of the legendary hero duo will be there to cut down those that dare to cause chaos and threaten the safety of all. The chance of you ever getting to see these beasts in action might be very slim, but when their howls can be heard across the road, you had better believe that they are on the prowl and ready to serve justice to all those that would dare to harm the people of their native land.
Just do yourself a favor though, and prepare for a hell of a conflict if you decide to go toe-to-toe with either of these beasts, as the sheer might of their bladed sword and armored head will more than show you why they are considered to be behemoth heroes that will serve swift retribution to all that dare to defile their home.
Thank you all for watching this video. It always brings me great joy to see others enjoying the work I do to try and make the world of Pokemon and the fascinating creatures that lay inside of it feel as real as they possibly can. If you really enjoy my work, please feel free to leave a comment and subscribe, as I always do my best to respond to any and all comments that are left on my videos. In addition, if you wish to learn more about my work and help support it, you can find links to my Patreon page, as well as email and other contact information to my work on DeviantArt in the video description down below. Furthermore, you can find a link to my Discord server there as well if you'd like to get a first glimpse at what videos are coming up next and converse with other fans of the world of Pokemon. Thank you for taking the time to watch this, and have a wonderful rest of your day.